Gary Parrish. Welcome back. CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do to the like button. Shouts to Brandon Davies. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel, please also do that while you're here. Let's get into it. We have already done previews for the Big 10, Big 12, Big East, ACC, and the SEC. That's the Power Five in college basketball. Today, we're going to turn our attention to some interesting programs from outside of the traditional power structure. And Norlander, I want to start with Gonzaga, partly because the Zags are probably the best of the bunch, but also because they got big news yesterday. Tyon Grant-Foster was granted a preliminary injunction in the Spokane County Courthouse on Monday. It's going to allow him to play for the Zags this upcoming season. Did Judge Marla Poland get this right, or is this just what happens when you get a Gonzaga case into the Spokane County Courthouse?
Maybe a little bit of both, GP. Good morning. You're looking fresh as a bunny, and I'm trying my best, by the way. Made it deep into the night watching Game 3 of the World Series.
That was something, wasn't it?
It was something. Did you make it to the very end? I made it to the end. Did you make it to the end, or
I made it to the 17th inning.
Yeah.
And my lovely wife woke me up in the 18th inning and said, "Freddie Freeman just ended it. You can go back to sleep." She saw the end of it somehow. I don't know.
I didn't. Dialed in, but yeah, I think I'm doing it. My wife said I don't look too tired. So anyway, good morning.
I got an official diagnosis, by the way.
Oh, with the shoulder,
yes.
Yeah, which is what?
You are podcasting right now. I don't know if you know this. You're podcasting right now with a man dealing with what Ortho South has diagnosed as rotator cuff tendonitis.
Yeah, it's a problem.
I've got rotator cuff.
This came up on the pod. I was like, did we talk about this on the show in Kansas City? We did. I hate to see that. I'm sorry, but
it's not your fault. I don't think it's your fault.
Well, it's not, because I wasn't in the bed with you when it happened. Let the rehab officially begin. Gonzaga fans, I'm sorry we had to detour real quick there. Obviously significant.
Don't apologize
news.
to Gonzaga fans. None of them are awake right now.
That's true. But they're gonna get to this eventually. Be on YouTube or in their phones. There, obviously, best of the rest preview. I think this is the 5th consecutive year, if not longer, that we've done this best of the rest, and we open talking about the Zags. It stands to reason. Gonzaga every single season is the best program, or at least poised to be the best program outside the power conferences. And yes, there was we actually, as timing would have it, we have real news connected to this. If you really want the real peek behind the scenes, we were going to try and do this podcast on Monday, but then it took way too long to get that resolution from the judge, and we weren't going to start the show until we knew Grant-Foster's fate. And so here's his fate. He actually went from the courthouse. He got the preliminary injunction. The NCAA, we don't need to litigate this in retrospect. We actually don't have a lot of time today, but the NCAA basically said, you've exhausted your eligibility. He played 2 years of junior college, played a year at Kansas, started at DePaul, actually literally had heart failure, died, was brought back to life, and then played 2 years at Grand Canyon. But the judge looked at everything. We see what's happened with Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt. His JUCO years didn't count against him. Grant-Foster's on the court. I happen to side with that side of it. There has been a little bit of, he's been enrolled in a collegiate institution dating back to 2018. Wins enough. I didn't have an issue with it whatsoever. He goes from the courthouse, shirt and tie, goes into the locker room, and his teammates are all like, they're ready to go. Like they're about ready to start their scrimmage versus Western Oregon. They all burst into a celebration. Really cool stuff there. And as we talk here on a Tuesday morning, later on today, our top 101 players list will publish. Tyon Grant-Foster has been added to that list at the very last minute. We slotted him at 70th overall. He was actually a top 50 player for us a year ago. He was a good player at Grand Canyon, but he was not as good last season as the year before. But I think he'll be the number 2 scorer, if not the number 1 scorer. I do expect Graham Ike, who is the team's best player overall, to be the team's best scorer. But this is an inclusion, by the way. I checked your rankings late last week, so I didn't consult with them when I was doing my top 101, trying to be as independent as possible. And to my surprise, we both actually slotted Gonzaga number 21 in each of our respective rankings. Had I known Grant-Foster would be able to play, my understanding here is like he's gotten the preliminary injunction, and barring some real legal nonsense, he's going to play for Gonzaga this season. I actually would have put Gonzaga higher than that, but there was no telling that he was going to be able to play. He was not even on the team's official website as of this hearing yesterday on Monday, GP. But yeah, big one there. I want to talk a couple more things with Gonzaga. This is the number 1 storyline, but your quick, I guess, take and extension of what we saw happen there Monday in Spokane.
I guess I just got out in front of it. I looked at it. I've always had him projected to be on Gonzaga's roster, or at least always had him projected to be on Gonzaga's roster since he announced a commitment to Gonzaga. And I know that was dicey, but it never made sense to me that he would not be allowed to play. I mean, I understand all the rules as written, but I mean, the rules as written don't matter anymore. We got G League players coming to college basketball. Chad Baker-Mazara has played 119 games in college, and he gets to play another season. Tyon Grant-Foster is at 83. His teammate, Graham Ike, is at 115.
Yeah.
So I get it. Your clock stopped. And I guess the initial ruling for the NCAA, or at least the argument from the NCAA, was you've had time to play your 4 years of college basketball at the Division I level. Yeah, I guess in theory, but 2 of those years were ripped away by a heart condition. He had multiple heart procedures. So I heard somebody say something like, well, what kind of precedent does this set? I don't care. But if this is the precedent, it's fine with me. If the clock starts at a certain time and before you're able to finish 4 years of Division I college basketball, you have a heart condition that requires 2 surgeries and requires you to be resuscitated multiple times, then yeah, you can come back and finish your eligibility. We don't care how long it takes. That's fine with me. If that's the precedent, it's fine with me. Who wins by telling this young man you don't get to play 1 more year of college basketball? Like, who is even arguing the other side?
The people on retainer. The people on retainer that lost this battle yesterday, and it took, I want to say it took close to 2.5 hours to really sort this out. And what was planned to be an hour-long process, which is why we were actually planning on doing this pod on Monday, didn't go that way whatsoever. But no, it's good to see him playing. Some folks just don't want anyone over the age of 23 in college basketball, period. I happen to believe the older the player, the better the basketball. This makes Gonzaga a better team. I'm not going to go and retroactively change my rankings here, but I just didn't know. So I held off not knowing when he was going to be added. I'd have Gonzaga, I don't know exactly, but they'd be in that 14 to 17 range, I think, for overall for me, now that he's good to go there. But for Gonzaga, big picture, the Sweet 16 streak ended last season. It ended last season 8th at Ken Palm. It actually starts this season in that same spot at Ken Palm at 8. I believe that's the highest. I think that's the highest you'll find Gonzaga anywhere. Can this team be top 10 again? This is its last season in the WCC. It's going to go off to the Pac-12. We'll have a little more on that in just a second here. But Parrish, will Gonzaga be a number 3 seed or better on Selection Sunday? That's one of my storylines here is, can they be top 10 again? I would say top 10 means once you get to the bracket reveal, you've got 1, 2, or 3 next to your name.
Well, based on my rankings, I would just bet no. But certainly they can. Will they? I don't know. I would bet no. But can they? Of course they can. They return 2 of the top 3 scorers. Graham Ike, Braden Huff. You get Grant-Foster eligible. They add other notable transfers, one from Virginia, one from Arizona State. It's another quality basketball team that should win the WCC. Oh, by the way, for the first time in like 3 years, because they haven't won it in the previous 2 years. But I think St. Mary's, and I guess we'll get to them, but I imagine they take a little bit of a step back. They lost a lot, didn't add as much as they lost. And so I think Gonzaga probably does whatever it does in the non-league, but isn't able to enhance its resume in the conference schedule. And let's settle in and call them something like a, 6, 7 seed in that range.
Okay. They have Ike mentioned, Braden Huff, who's on the top.
Let me rephrase before that gets aggregated. Let's because I don't think my math is correct there. Let's do something like a 5 or a 6 seed and call it a day.
Fair enough. The details matter. Graham Ike, Braden Huff, Tyon Grant-Foster, all in our top 101 players list, which again is publishing on Tuesday at CBSSports.com or on your CBS Sports app. Steele Venters, finally, he's missed the past couple of seasons due to different injuries. He's set to play. He was a really good player. He was actually the player that played above Cedric Coward at Eastern Washington. when you get to talking to Seth again, have him talk a little bit about Steel Venters and how much he knew he didn't know once he got to Eastern Washington. Now such a coward, immediately being one of, we're 2 weeks in, not even. But he's been an immediately impactful player down there in GP's backyard in Memphis. Steel Venters now with Gonzaga, and knock on wood, hopefully will be a pretty impactful player. And then Braden Smith, the other Braden Smith, Braeden. He was actually a really fantastic point guard in the Patriot League at Colgate. He sat out last season with the redshirt season. He's going to play. Could be one of the more valuable players in the sport that's just entirely off the radar. We just got to wait and see how impactful he'll be overall. But yeah, a lot of intrigue with Gonzaga. Let's keep it moving here. Number 2 storyline is the final season of the Mountain West as we know it. The Pac-12 will resuscitate next season, and with it, it will bring Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, and Utah State, all from the Mountain West. This league has averaged 4.5 bids over the past 4 seasons, GP. Going to get to 4 in 2026. Mountain West also brings on Grand Canyon this year. They've got, we'll do a quick look at San Diego State, and we'll talk to some other teams a little later in the show. But for the purposes of this storyline here, the Mountain West, what's it going to be in this final, proper year? It's hard to see how the league will ever be as good again after this. I think San Diego State's the best team in the league. I have them in my top 25. And Brian Dutcher's 8 seasons. He's only had 1 bad team. Miles Bird returns. Magoon Gwath returns. They're both on our top 101 players list. Reese Waters or Reese Dixon Waters. Frankly, I'm seeing it both ways. I'm not sure which way it is. But Reese Dixon Waters, he's also back. Farrell Compton returns. They've got enough back. I'd be surprised defensively if this team isn't the best team in the league. There's some other teams that are good. We'll get to them in a few. But your thoughts, I guess, broadly speaking, or if you want to get specific on the Aztecs, GP, on what we expect from the Mountain West. This is obviously a conference that quite well, near and dear to your heart. Many a late night CBS Sports Network hit coming out of a late tip over at somewhere in that league.
I either stay up to watch Shohei or Fresno State. That's basically. That's if you catch me up too late on a Tuesday night, I'm either watching Shohei or San Diego State. I agree. Aztecs best team in the Mountain West. You noted the Mountain West has averaged 4.5 bids over the past 4 seasons. I don't think they get that this season. I've got 0 Mountain West teams in my top 25, and one, if I were to have one, it would be San Diego State, and they are right on the edge. But I would call it probably a 2-bid league. And here's one for you. I think it's got a better chance of being a 1-bid league than it has of being a 4-bid league.
Ooh. Interesting take. I will disagree with you. I will say it's a better chance of getting 4 than getting 1. That's kind of spicy for you this early, GP. You really think that there's a better chance that the Mountain West only sends 1 team than it sends 4? It sent 6 2 years ago.
I don't think they'll get more than 3. I think the league is down. And oh, by the way, you just lost one of your best coaches too.
Correct. Who is it, by the way, though? Who left?
Your old buddy, Nick. Your nemesis, Nico.
I know. Nico, by the way.
I saw Nico at Big Ten Media Day.
Yeah.
He said, is Norlander here? I said, no. He said, good.
Yeah.
That was our entire conversation. I said, Nico, how you been? He said, is Norlander here? I said, no. He said, good. I was trying to explain. I was like, he's in Amsterdam. He went to the Dutch, and he was like, good. He just cut me off. He said, good.
I got to talking to Nico probably a week and a half or so before my top 101 rankings came out, and I told him where Minnesota was. I think it's 75th. And he goes, how many years in a row is it now where we finish better than where you think we're going to finish? So we got a nice little
yeah, he's like the Grant McCaslin of Norlander's rankings.
There we go.
He is
he really is though.
What Grant McCaslin is to KenPom, Nico Medved is to Norlander. And
now he has left the Mountain West. Colorado State, Ali Farouk Manash now takes over there. Obviously, March Madness legend. I have the Rams. I know I have the Rams at the tail end, the very end of my top 101 rankings. Let's get to storyline number 3. Is this league? It's no longer the American Athletic Conference. It's just the American Conference, by the way. Is it going to just be Memphis and then everyone else? The Tigers were the only team in the tournament last season. South Florida. It's a tempting potential contender heading into this season with new coach Brian Hodgson. You've got teams like UAB, which I also have right there. Colorado State and UAB are my 2 final teams in my top 101. You've got Tulane, which actually I have personally ranked ahead of UAB. North Texas, Wichita State, they're a tier below. I tell you what, if you want to avoid getting put in that bucket of being a 1-bid league, and I think for some people the American's already there, But then it's a season like this where you need another 2 teams outside of Memphis, GP, to step up and vault into not the top 75. Like, to change the discussion, you need 3 teams in that top 50 conversation. Quite clearly, quite obviously, the American does not sit in that position here as we get ready to turn to Halloween and get ready to start the season next week. I would 100% agree with you that the American is more likely to have 1 than it is 4. I might say it's more likely to have 1 than it is 3.
I would say
well,
2.
no, 1 or 2. If you actually made me pick 1 or 2, I would say 2. But I would say more likely 1 than 3. Your thoughts on the American, and if you want to use this, let's use this time also to dive into the Tigers.
Yeah, 2's always hard because all it takes is you've got your conference champs is at large worthy, and then they lose in the conference tournament. Now you're at 2. So I would say more likely to be 1 than 3. I'm not certain how good Memphis is going to be, but outside of Memphis, who is going to be good? And I asked that from an honest place. I'm asking you, who is going to be good besides Memphis? If Memphis is good,
if you're going to say, if we're going to define good in these terms as you are in the bubble conversation at the end of February, I have no confidence that there's going to be a second team there, but I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth. I just think something will break and there will be a second team that's at least within shouting distance. My pick right now is South Florida. And that's just, Hodgson's a really good coach, did good stuff at Arkansas State. Yeah. And they, for their level, they consider to do decently enough in the portal, but that does not project as a top 70 team. So I don't know. I actually didn't see a whiff of it, GP. Since you're coming, I know you got your show here in a little bit, and it's only an exhibition. How did the Tigers look last night at home against Calipari and his Arkansas team?
They looked good for about 25 minutes, and then they just got overwhelmed and ran off the court. But they led by as many as 15 early, led at the half. Doug McDaniel looked the part, but I think what happened last night might be a snapshot of how Memphis' season will unfold. Penny has scheduled aggressively in the non-league to try to build an at-large resume. Almost nobody else in the American even tried. Go look at Tulane's schedule. Like, they're not even trying. And so last year it worked. They were excellent in the non-league. Not my prediction, but my concern for them would be aggressive schedule, non-league, and they're just not good enough to deal with it, right? And they come out of, they were like 5-5 to start the season. It's something like that. And then they're not going to have a chance to build an at-large resume in conference because the league's not good enough. And you're just climbing uphill the rest of the way or playing for the conference tournament the rest of the way. That would be my concern. But just to put some numbers on it, Memphis is 52nd at KenPom right now. Second in the American is North Texas at 88. That is a 36 spot difference.
And North Texas, you said, is second. Interesting. Okay.
That is what North Texas at 88, UAB at 98, South Florida at 104.
Okay.
So based on that one bid league, that 36 position gap between Memphis and the second place team in the American is the biggest gap by a big margin between first and second in any of the top 8 conferences at KenPom. So it should be Memphis winning the league again, but how good is Memphis? I think that's a question still in need of an answer.
Well, I do like their core. So Doug McDaniel, we'll talk a little bit more about him before the show's over. I'd like to hear from you that he at least looked the part there. I think he's going to be the most valuable player in the conference this season. So he comes over. This feels like a good fit for him. Aaron Bradshaw, who is, Kentucky, then Ohio State, hasn't clicked. Okay, can he be a rehab project for Penny? Obviously a very talented former 5-star prospect. Now he's at Memphis. Can he make a jump in his career? And then Sincere Harris via McNeese. I actually think that's a wonderful fit alongside Doug McDaniel. I like that trio. They've got some other portal pieces. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. But I think objectively speaking, when you look at Memphis and you look at, okay, who's their 2 or 3 best players, how does that stack up to the rest of the league? I think Memphis stands a step above the rest of them. I've got Memphis number 39 in my top 101 rankings. Let's move along. Number 4, Atlantic 10 storyline. Best of the rest storylines. Number 4, I've got A10. Is it going to be, this one does feel like, it feels like a little bit of a broken record here. Is it going to be more of the same as we've seen in recent seasons? Or can a top 25 team emerge? You know this, GP, because it's in our pod doc, but our listeners and viewers might be surprised to learn, although if you're dialed into the A10, you're not surprised. This league has not produced a top 30 team, not even a top 25 team, a top 30 team in the metrics since Obi Toppin and Dayton in 2019-20. That's the last time the Atlantic 10 was able to really produce a high-level team. And even it goes even further than that when you're looking at the Atlantic 10 being a true multi-bid league with some real heft to it. 2017-18, 2018 NCAA tournament was the last time the league was able to produce, 3 good teams. I'm mildly hopeful that maybe they can stop that streak this season. I get the sense that you are not. I'll save some chatter on some of these teams after the break, but as the former MC pre-pandemic of A10 Media Day for, I think it was 2 years, maybe tops, maybe it was only one. Your thoughts on the Atlantic?
I choose to describe it as multiple years.
Okay. Multiple, yeah.
It's multiple years. Master of Ceremonies, A10 Media Luncheon, pre-pandemic.
Yes.
I think it's probably more of the same for now, but it could be on the verge of changing once they are legitimately, some of these A10 schools are legitimately in position to outspend lots of power conference schools. That is where we're headed. I wrote about this over the summer at Peach Jam. A young man, top 100 prospect, turned down scholarship offers from every power conference, from a school in every power conference to sign with VCU in the A10. And there's a lot of reasons he did that, but among them is that VCU quite literally offered more money than anybody else. So I don't think we're going to see the benefits of that yet. Like Sammy Jackson is still in high school, but there is a scenario where the A10 gets stronger going forward, but probably not 2025-26.
I'll mention a few A10 teams after the break. Just want to keep this cruising along. We'll get to storyline number 5 here. And this is a bigger picture thing, not to do with any team or any conference. And it is something I'm personally, Paris, is just, we talk about the sport, at least 3 times a week, if not more on the show, write about it plenty. This would rank among my 5 most intriguing storylines of the season, even with everything that's on the table and what I think is just, it's going to be an outstanding season. And if you want more big picture stuff, here's a tease. GP and I have a CBS Sports Network show later this week on TV. It'll drop into the pod, but that'll be, another big picture reset on what to prepare for overall. But this is, to me, is the portal wars and the mid majors. And has there been a talent drain? Has there truly been a talent drain? Because right now, I would say that this is not just a talking point, but a major concern at the mid-major level. Are we going to see an obvious and clear line of delineation, with the exception of maybe 3 or 4 teams, period, when it comes to talent, team quality, and it's going to be almost all high major teams? Throw in Gonzaga, San Diego State, maybe St. Mary's, maybe Memphis, and then that's just it? Or is this, I am curious, is this a little bit overblown? Because, mid-major coaches, they get paid plenty too. Mid-major players, they're getting paid now too. They want, the other side, they want to do well. We will see good teams, but I am wondering how big the gap is. Do we have a major talent drain? I don't know, but I will say this, Parrish, in building out the top 101 teams list and the top 101 players list, maybe it's because it's more at the forefront of my mind because I've just talked about it with more people over the past 5-6 months. In the here and now, it felt as though mid-major talent feels as low as it's ever been. But I want to acknowledge I could be prisoner of the moment. What say you?
I don't think you're a prisoner of the moment. I think it is undeniable that there's been a talent drain on mid-majors. And even more than that, let's just say programs outside of the traditional power structure, because Memphis isn't going to like me calling it a mid-major, but it is a program outside of the traditional power structure. It plays in the American. So quick history lesson. In 2019, Memphis had the #1 recruiting class in the entire country. 2 5-star prospects, James Wiseman, Precious Achua. In 2021, #1 recruiting class in the entire country. 2 5-star prospects, Jalen Duran, Amani Bates. In the year 2025, the best non-Power 5 recruiting class of freshmen was USF at number 38 with 0 top 150 prospects in the class, according to 24/7 Sports. Memphis's best incoming recruit is Doug McDaniel, who is at his third school and who was once famously suspended for road games at Michigan because of academics. The best transfer class in the country outside of Power Fives is Grand Canyon at number 39. Again, best freshman class, USF at number 38. So what does all this tell us? The power conference programs are still largely getting the best high school players in the country. But once upon a time, the mid-majors could kind of try to offset that by retention and development. Well, now, not only are the power conference programs taking the best high school players like they always have, they're now largely taking your best players too. So they're taking the most talented young people and the best old people and building teams with that. Where does that leave you? Everything's shrinking on the mid-majors right now. Again, if we have legitimate salary caps going forward and people follow the rules, then maybe this can balance out a little bit more. But like, here's one way to put it. Memphis, which used to sign number one recruiting classes, lost its best player to a Big 12 program. Memphis couldn't even hold on to its best player. That's where we are right now.
But it did get, it did bring in a former five-star prospect from a Big Ten program. So there's at least, there's always going to be down transferring. There are going to be players.
But that's what that is. That's that. Aaron Bradshaw is a down transfer.
Correct.
Correct. He can't play in the Big Ten. He can't play in the SEC. So let's try this one.
Yes. So I want to at least allow for some room for some down transferring. There are players who had something when they were 17 and now they're 19 or 21 and they're going to go to this level. I'm mostly, that's why I teed it up. It's why I don't think I'm being prisoner of the moment, but I'll be damn interested to see, are we going to get to a situation here where we look across the top 50 in the sport and there aren't more than 3 teams outside the high majors populating those rankings? I think it's very possible. I think it's on the table. Don't think it's a great thing for college basketball, but it feels like that's where we are right now. Anything else? You want to take our break and then spotlight a few more teams here?
Let's take a break and spotlight.
Okay, Nada, let's go. Word from our partner.
Only CBS Sports can bring you big time during the heart of Saturday afternoons. It's big time.
It's big time. It's big time. It's big time.
On CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Right, Norlander, if you want to take a look at a few more teams outside of the traditional power conferences that should be notable this season, I would encourage you to do so now, but I would also request that you keep an eye on the clock.
I'm keeping an eye. Actually, I think we're doing pretty well here. If you're watching on YouTube, there we go. There he is. GP's got his Memphis show after this, so we are up against the clock. So it goes. St. Mary's, we mentioned him, but we didn't dive into him. I have St. Mary's in the top 35. Randy Bennett has been obviously – he's been like one of the 5 or 6 most reliable coaches in the sport over the past 15 years. They did lose a lot. However, they're clearly number 2 in the WCC. I think they're going to get back to the NCAA tournament. Paulius Morauskas. He is a muscular power wing type who I think is going to be a stud. Him and Mikey Lewis are the 2 big names there. Harry Wessels is also a good spot player. And then they've got a guy, Kevin Gadd, which I get Todd Gack vibes from. That's a Seinfeld reference Parrish will not get. But Kevin Gadd apparently has some good buzz around him there. I do like St. Mary's to make the tournament. I don't know if that'll be because they steal the auto bid in the WCC or they have just enough to get in as a 10 seed or an 11 seed or so. But I'll say they get in. Rapid fire to you, GP. Gales, 2026, dancing or no?
I would say no. And I say that with no joy. I say that with sadness in my heart. But I would say no. They lost 4 of their top 5 scores and 6 of their top 9. They're outside of the top 50, both Torvik and Kempom. I think the 4-year streak of NCAA tournament runs is certainly in jeopardy, and I would predict probably over.
All right, so all the teams I'm going to hit right now, they're all in my top 80. So in the WCC, it's just Gonzaga and St. Mary's. In the American, we touched on it, it's just Memphis. In the Mountain West, we talked about San Diego State. Other Mountain West teams I have in my top 80. Boise State, they've got a pair of 6'7" upperclassmen back, Javon Buchanan and Andrew Meadow. Dylan Andrew from UCLA comes aboard. Drew Fielder, a transfer from Georgetown. Leon Rice is, he's like I don't want to say a poor man's Randy Bennett, but he's almost as consistent. Now, he hasn't won a tournament game, but they always seem to find a way to finish top 3 in the Mountain West. I have them top 50 overall, and I have Utah State in my top 50 as well. Mason Foslev, who was on our preseason top 101 players list, averaged 15 points, 6.3 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 2.3 steals, and shot 39% from 3. He's developed into an NBA draft prospect. He's a really good player. Jared Calhoun is a solid coach. They actually can have some coaching consistency for now at Utah State. That program, it's kind of one of those good problems, I guess, but they're always so good. Their coaches are candidates to go elsewhere. They're the VCU of the mountain West, the mountain range over there. But I like Utah State also in the top 50, and then 2 more Mountain West programs that I have in my top 80. UNLV, new coach Josh Pastner. I like enough of the roster to take a swing and say Pastner immediately steps in and is at least a relevant team in that conference. And then Grand Canyon, Bryce Drew, they just dominated the WAC. They make the move over from the WAC to the Mountain West. I don't think Grand Canyon will win the Mountain West, but they've got an amazing home court environment. I'd be surprised if they're not in the top 6 in that league. So Mountain West wise, I'll toss it back over to you, GP, before we hit on a few more teams. Those are the teams I have. You agree with me? You have San Diego State 1. I don't know if you've done too deep of a dive, but if you had to go 2, 3, 4, what's your Mountain West power ranking heading into the season? And if you had to say what team is second most likely to get into the tournament, because you're not going to go with 3 or 4 teams, who's number 2 that's getting into the dance?
I would go 2 bid Mountain West Conference, and San Diego State and Utah State would be my 2.
Okay, there we go. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see Nada's put up a graphic, so he's tipped my hand a little bit here. But if you're listening, you get to find out as I continue to go along here. In the Atlantic 10, all right, we'll start with Dayton. I have them as the preseason champion. This is a Zag here because Dayton is not the pick. It's VCU. I don't even have VCU in my preseason top 4 in the A10. I'll get to that in just a second there. Now, Dayton has also been in the news in the past few days because Adam Njai, who was a transfer from Iona, was set to either be like the 5th starter or be the first guy off the bench. He was a quality player at Iona last year. Well, he has been withheld from competition, and if you follow how these things go, he's probably never going to play for Dayton. He is under review purportedly for potential involvement in illegal gambling activity while at Iona. Yeah, so that's a ding. Dayton hasn't revealed that too much, but Pat Forty of Sports Illustrated first reported it. I checked in with sources who confirmed that as well in the past 36 hours. So they don't have him, but they do have a transfer named Keontae Jones, who they got in August, who's probably the best player people don't know about in the A10. He's probably Dayton's best player. He's really good. They bring back Javon Bennett, who was a double-digit scorer. Amiel Latang has a high ceiling guy as well. He's going to play well. Jacob Connor will start at the 3. Dayton is just one of those programs that, yeah, they have some down years, and I know the fan base has been a little bit frustrated because they feel as though they get to the end of the season and Anthony Grant probably should have tallied 2 or 3 more wins that weren't on the board there. But I'll pick them to win. I'll pick them to win the league narrowly over the likes of St. Louis, which I have number 2. St. Louis might have the most talent in the league. Robbie Avila still in college hoops, which is a good thing. I talked to other coaches in the A10, and they say either St. Louis or VCU has the most talent. Avila had a better season than I think people might realize. Now, part of this is because SLU didn't hit 20 wins, but 17.3 points, 6.9 boards, 4.0 assists, shot 36% from 3. He missed the first part of the last season, GP, because of injury. But, I think he's a dark horse All-American, which a year ago he wasn't because there was just so much hype around him. He followed Shirts from Indiana State to St. Louis. And then they were just, they kind of got lost in the shuffle. They weren't a team that was competing for an NCAA tournament bid. I do think they will compete for, and I actually think they've got a halfway decent shot at getting an NCAA tournament bid. I got a couple more notes on some A10 teams, but any thoughts on Dayton or SLU?
I think Dayton, SLU, VCU, you could reasonably put in any order. I may give Dayton a slight edge, but I don't. I think 1, 2, 3 with those 3 schools in the A10 can be defended. And Avila, it's interesting with him. He coming off what he did when he was developing, when he was getting nickname one after another attached to him.
Yes, he
had All-America buzz. We're not going to start talking NBA stuff, but this is the classic, could be a great college player. Mm-hmm. And he just, when I started doing my top 101 players, I got to a point I was like, where is he at? Why have I not thought of him yet? It's just, he has sort of been out of sight, out of mind a little bit.
Yeah, agreed. But But let me look where he landed real quick here, because I had him in my personal. The stats were good enough last season. I had him in my personal top 40. And for a little tip off for our listeners here, Avila finished. Let's see how we did on him. Where is this dude on the list? He did make the list, right? He had to have made the list. He's just not. I'm looking through here, and he's not like top 35. Oh yeah, we got to take it. We're taking it. Oh, 54. Okay, so I think he was like 30. Maybe 25 last year. I did think he was getting overrated going into last season because everyone was going nuts with the Larry Nerd and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. 54 feels about right. He will be potentially the best player in the A-10. A couple more teams, if you're watching on the screen, you saw George Washington spent some real money for that level in the portal. Chris Caputo has, as I wrote in my capsule in my top 101, not many mid-majors build their team and their offense through like a true 7-foot center. That's going to be the case with Rafael Castro at GW. They gave Georgetown a good game. If you listen to the Ed Cooley interview, he had really good things to say about GW there. A team that I think can win the A-10. I don't have them projected to do so, but it's been a decade since George Washington entered a season with this much optimism. I love to see it. Good to see some good stuff emanating there out of the district. And then Loyola Chicago and VCU are the other two teams in the A-10. I actually have Loyola Chicago narrowly ahead of VCU. It's because they've got Miles Rubin, another really talented big. Talk about a guy who could have easily been starting at the high major level, got paid well, stayed there. I don't think we've even brought it up since it happened, but RIP Sister Jean. Oh, yeah. By the way, I've got the Sister Jean bobblehead will be in my backdrop the entire season. But the vibes are going to be too heavily in Loyola Chicago's favor for me to project them not to be a top 100 team, not to be one of like the 5 best in the A-10. Drew Valentine's best team was his first one there, but I think this is his second best one. But yeah, I've got them narrowly ahead of VCU. The only reason I have VCU is where I have it is, well, 2 reasons. One, they've only had like 2 down year, not top 75 seasons in the past, 10, 15 years. And those happen to be Will Wade's first season on campus and Mike Rhodes' first season on campus. Well, now Phil Martelli Jr. comes in, and they did spend in the portal and they bring in talent, but he has never in his coaching life ever been at a program that's this big. It's always been low major stuff. I just want to see how he enters in. This could be a whiff. VCU could wind up winning the league and all that, but I did intentionally fade them a little bit there. But that being said, I still have them top 75.
I spent some time with him at Peach Jam. He sounds the part. Obviously brings credentials to the table. I'm optimistic about it. I think he's going to be fine there. Is it going to pop immediately? We'll see. But at VC, that's a great job. Look at the trampoline that job has been for one coach after another, after another, after another. And I suspect he'll follow the same path that most of those guys have followed, except, with the way the sport is structured now, there may be more incentive to stay at a place like VCU than there is to take a bottom tier power conference job. Shaka obviously was very patient with his career. He turned down a ton of jobs, including, I believe, Marquette. Yes,
famously extremely patient, almost to the point where I don't want to say he was like redefining how coaches approach this stuff, but I'm just telling you, until Shaka Smart, there weren't coaches at mid-major gigs that were turning down high major opportunities like 4 years in a row. That was almost never happening. And now we see here and there, obviously it's a bit more common.
There was a time where Shaka and Archie were like the 2 mid-major coaches that were turning down power conference opportunities. It was like, man, who's going to be able to finally get them? And, then they both went their separate ways.
Okay, a few more notes on some teams. We're making actually a really great time here. Love to see it. These are teams not in my top 80. They're all in my top 100. Teams that just keep an eye on, teams that I think have a good chance, not just of winning the league. If they get in the tournament, they could be a team that could pick off a game and be a Cinderella candidate. Belmont is my pick in the Missouri Valley. That's actually a contrarian opinion. Illinois State is the more common pick there, but they've got a guy named Tyler Lumblade, who is maybe the best 3-point shooter in the country. We'll see if he can replicate. He shot 48% from beyond the arc last season. So I don't think he's going to match that again, but I think, 43 to 45% should be on the table. And they've got a stretch 4 named Sam Orme, who is also back and also can really shoot. I really like the Bruins there, but the Valley should be an awesome league race. I think, by the way, the A-10 will have the best league race of any conference not in the high majors. I neglected to mention that before. I've got UC Irvine winning the Big West. A year ago, remember, it was UC San Diego out of nowhere, 30-win program. Eric Olin, he's now at New Mexico. I like UC Irvine to edge out UC Santa Barbara, which, by the way, UC Santa Barbara is now where Aiden Mahaney plays after the UConn experiment went awry. But give me Russell Turner. They've won it plenty. Jerry and Dixon is a sophomore in that league, the reigning Big West Freshman of the Year. I do think Irvine will get there, and credit to College Basketball Analytics for this nugget, which I thought was interesting. Last season, UC Irvine won 8 games in which it was trailing by at least 10 points. That tied with Michigan State for the most in the country. Teams built to know how to come back and win, and I like their chances. A few more teams to know. South Florida, we mentioned them previously, but I just think Hodgson does a good job in year one, and I'll buy that the Bulls, when we're around Valentine's Day, they won't be in the bracketology forecast, but maybe their next 4 out or the one after that. I'll say the American can have a team that's relevant, and Hodgson, obviously, a very good coach. Yale should still be at the class of the Ivy, 30 minutes up the road from me here. James Jones, one of the longest tenured coaches in the country. I'd be surprised if Yale is not the best. And this is a Yale team that's lost really good talent in recent seasons, but they've got a good thing cooking there. I think they'll be top 100. Charleston, they've got one of the best names in the sport, Mr. Dean, who played. I think he might have played at USC Upstate a season ago. They're going to be a good defensive team. I know Chris Mack is super high on this group. They're my pick in the CAA, and I think Mack is a guy. I had a segment in my Best of the Rest written preview where just coaches, mid-major coaches on the climb or to know or whatever. It feels weird to identify GP Mack as a coach on the climb, but he's gotten calls the past 2 cycles from high major schools, and if Charleston wins the league, he's going to get calls again. That's a really good team. I have them like 93 or something in my rankings. This could be too low. I mean, they could be a top 75 team, but that's the deal when you're.
I would hire him.
Well, I mean, I think he was very willing and able and eager to go back to Xavier and make that his forever job. Xavier decided, nope, we're going to bring on Richard Pitino. But I would agree with you, particularly let's just say that this projection is right, GP. Let's say Charleston makes the tournament. Mack is 55. He's still young, and he's not going to retire at 71. But I can see him coach another 8 to 10 years. And
he was great at Xavier, and he was bad for a half a season at Louisville.
I know,
that got him. And that's an exaggeration a little bit, but that's a good basketball coach who has a good Wikipedia page, and the power conference school that gives him his next shot and is able to lure him from Charleston will not regret it. That would be a prediction.
I agree. Last mid-major I'll give you is Miami University, Miami of Ohio, and the MAC. It's my pick to win the MAC. Akron's the more common pick, and John Gross does a good job. That's a classic example of a coach who was awesome at the mid-major level, took a high major job, and he's just built to be a really great mid-major coach. He's got a great thing going at Akron, but I do have, speaking of former Xavier coaches, Travis Steele is the coach at Miami of Ohio. He's just got the best. He's got the best core. He's got Peter Suter, who averaged 14 points, 5 boards, 4 assists last season. And then Ian Elmer is right there talent-wise. That's, by the way, that's Ian, E-I-A-N. A good 1-2 combo, and they've got a good core over there overall. So the MAC has struggled to produce top 100 teams with regularity, but I took a chance on the Red Hawks and put them in the back end of the 90s there. So that's just a variety of different mid-major teams to keep an eye on. As always, there will be surprises, and that's why we love it. I wanted to keep up. Do you have a
go-to rule on how to tell if you're talking to an Ian or an Ian?
Almost always they're Ian. I think Ian Eagle has cornered the marketplace on the Ions. But it's either Ion College Basketball or Ian Eagle. That's it. Because I've never met an Ion in real life that's not Ian Eagle.
I struggle with the Ian and the Ian, and I struggle with a Goldstein and a Goldstein. I don't ever know what to do. I never know what to do.
What do you struggle with groin?
I can't say that word. You're talking to a man with rotator cuff tendonitis.
If you had groin tendonitis, how would you say it?
Soft tissue injury.
It's my goal to get you to try and say it one more time on the show this season. Let's keep up with
difficult word.
It's really not. Groin. Look at this. I'm going to say it 5 times in a row. Groin. Try it.
Growing. I can't do it. My mouth doesn't make that word. How is it possible my mouth can make, hey, YouTube, hey, but I can't say growing? Growing.
I don't get it.
I don't understand. I mean,
it's amazing content, though. I thank you for doing it. I'm going to put it on the soundboard.
It's just a soft tissue injury, as far as I'm concerned. You guys can get all technical if you want to. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a soft tissue injury.
In the Power Conference previews, we talked about and projected how many at-large bids, how many overall bids. I'm going to do this for the non-Power 5 leagues. So how many at-large bids will we get? Last season, the year before, there were 8. Mm-hmm. Last season, trivia time. Do you know it?
I'm going to say there were 4 last year.
4. Bingo. Yeah. Bingo, bango. There were 4, 3 in the Mountain West and 1 in the WCC. With that in mind, I'm going to set the over-under for non-high major at-large bids only at 4.5. How many get it, and what conferences do they come from?
I'm taking the under. I'm going to go with 3.
Whew, man, that's depressing as hell.
I'm going to go with 3, and they're going to come, let's say 2.
You already got St. Mary's not in the tournament.
Remember. I know. Okay, so I'm going to go WCC 1 bid. I don't even like saying that. I don't even like saying that out loud. I'd rather say growing over and over again than say that again. WCC 1 bid. Let's say Mountain West 3. Or did I already say Mountain West 2?
You did.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to say Mountain West 2.
Which is 3 bids total, but 2 at larges. Okay.
Yeah. And then just 1 more somewhere. And here's let me tell you exactly how this is going to go. It'll be 3 at larges outside of the Power 5. And then we're going to put the committee chair on television. And you know what he's going to say? Well, St. Mary's was right there. And Boise State, oh, buddy, right there. And this is among the arguments for tournament expansion. If you want these schools in and you're telling me that you do, well, then the best way to do that is we got to take it up to 76 or whatever. Mm-hmm. We're going to get a unusually small number of at-larges from the non-Power 5s, and then the Power 5s are going to convince us that the best way to fix this problem is to expand, and then they're going to fill up the expanded tournament with their own teams. That's what's happening.
I think you've got a very good chance at that clip aging well. Against all my wishes and desires, I do think this is very much on the table, that we are entering into a season where this is the last season in which teams will compete to make a 68-team field, and that we could get to Selection Sunday, and there is a low number of at-large bids from non-high majors, and then that exact lobbying point is hammered home. Obviously, if this is true, by the time we get to Selection Sunday, we will know the fate of the 2027 NCAA tournament anyway. So we'll see there. I will go over. I will go 5. I will say 2 at-larges from the A10. I know I'm probably just slipping on the banana peel right now with that, but I'll say 2 from the A10, 2 from the Mountain West.
Somebody's trying to become the master of ceremonies, it sounds like.
2 from the A10, 2 from the Mountain West, and then 1 from the WCC. So I will say, and I'll give you even the teams. I'll say St. Mary's is the at-large from the WCC. I will say Boise State and Utah State join San Diego State in the tournament from the Mountain West. I'll say Dayton gets in, and alongside St. Louis, and I mean, what the hell? Give me George Washington. Let me say they break through. But it could be a deal where like Dayton and St. Louis have just enough to get in, and VCU wins the league tournament. But I want to believe. Okay, I want to believe. All right, call me Mulder. I want to believe. We'll wrap up with this. I did put together an all mid-major starting 5, all mid-major first team, if you will. I don't know if Nada has that in graphic form. He does. Look at this. All mid-major first team here. These are just the 5 players who I think are going to be the best at the non-high major level. If you're watching, you can see them. If you aren't, I'm going to read them off for you right now. Give me Grammy K at Gonzaga, Robbie Avila at St. Louis, Miles Bird at San Diego State, Doug McDaniel at Memphis, and then Mason Falslev at Utah State. The one player not on this list who reasonably actually could crack into it is Tyon Grant-Foster at Gonzaga. If he does wind up leading the team in scoring, we'll see on that. But yeah, GP, any thoughts on those 5? And did you vote? All 5 of those guys were on my preseason top 101 list. You know, I think all 5 are on our list too. Did you vote for all 5 on yours? You're not Doug?
I don't think I had a Memphis player on my list.
Okay.
Yeah. But like, I'm not arguing with your team here, but Look at that. That is who you think the best non-Power 5 players in the country are going to be, and it's a reasonable list. Go back 5 years and do the same exercise and see what you come up with. It's Drew Timme. It's Jalen Suggs. It's let me see here.
Let's check it out.
It's Marcus Sasser.
Corey Kispert. I mean, there's a lot of Gonzaga dudes, but yes. Yeah, Sasser's fair. They were down in the Big 12. That's true.
Yeah, it's just been, we've taken some of our, let's see who played on this team.
You could have even said like Kendrick Davis was good 5 years ago. Think of like
but
Obi Toppin, that's a little more 5 years ago, but yeah.
Yeah, but like you asked me earlier, do you think there's been a talent drain on the mid-majors? Look at that team. The answer is yes.
But I will also say Avila's on the list now, and Cameron Krutwig was Robbie Avila 5 years ago. So yes, but point well taken there. We'll wrap on this, and we'll cut GP loose so we can get ready for his Memphis show. Just a few. We always mention if you missed on a few notable coaching hires. Here's who I have. Josh Pastner is now at UNLV. Ali Farouk-Manesh is at Colorado State. Eric Olin, not a big name, but he took UC San Diego. What he did at UC San Diego was insane. And so now he goes to New Mexico, which is not going to the Pac-12. New Mexico, generally speaking, is just an interesting situation to me. We'll see what happens in the years to come there. Fran McCaffrey is still coaching, folks. He is now the coach at his alma mater in Philadelphia at the University of Pennsylvania in the Ivy League. Mike Bibby is the coach at Sacramento State. Shaq is labeled as the general manager. Don't get me even started on that, but there's a whole lot going down at Sacramento State these days. Brian Hodgson, as we mentioned, at UCF, one of the most sought after coaches at the mid-major level who got a new gig. And then Phil Martelli Jr., as we mentioned, at VCU. Those are probably the most notable hirings at that level. Let's just burrow in real quick on Pastner GP. We talked about him a little bit on our coaching carousel recap back at the end of April, but he's someone who I talked to a number of times in the past year and a half. He was very eager to get back in. Didn't think that he could even get the UNLV job at one point, and then lo and behold, he gets it. It's not, you talk about a change in what it used to be. I mean, UNLV is 20% of what it was when we grew up to love the sport here. But I think there's a good chance this can work. And the one thing that surprised me, and I don't know if you had a chance to talk to Josh Mutt yet or not, but he is a guy who was wired to not cheat on a level that really could be matched with anyone. And he has seemingly adapted pretty damn well. He knew what he was stepping into. He understands the change in the landscape, the change of the rules. I don't know if he's going to be an absolute home run, but I wrote it at some point somewhere on the site. I do believe that Josh Pastner will get UNLV to the NCAA tournament. I do believe that Josh Pastner will do more than that. I think that he is going to be responsible. You ready for this? For UNLV's first NCAA tournament win since, I won't even trivia time you. They have not won a game as a program in the tournament since 2008.
Is that Lon Kruger?
When they did it, it was Kruger. Yes, yeah. Kruger. Dave Rice was the last coach to bring him to the tournament. Kruger in 2008 was the last time they won a game. They haven't made the Sweet 16 since 2007. I don't think he wins a game in 2026. I'm not sure he wins a game in 2027, but I will predict that UNLV will be on the better side of an NCAA tournament result before Josh Pastner's time in Vegas is done.
I hope you're right. I'm glad he got that job. I like Josh being back in coaching. I grew up with UNLV being among the biggest brands in the sport. I mean, that's a brand that was so big at one point that it still gets referenced in rap songs like UNLV and Running Rebels. And so I agree with you. I think Josh can get UNLV back to a respectable place. And obviously all of that comes with, you got to have a commitment from the university and blah, blah, blah. But I'm looking at, he's bringing UNLV back to Memphis. And so we had John Calipari back in FedEx Forum last night, and we'll have Josh Pastner back in FedEx Forum in the regular season. So that'll be a cool thing. I look forward to seeing him. He did a good job at Memphis, a better than folks realized in real time job at Memphis, replacing John Calipari, then went to Georgia Tech. And that's just a hard job. I mean, go look at the history. That is the job. Everybody says, man, somebody could really win big there. And you're like, who has, other than Bobby Crimmins a 1,000 years ago and Paul Hewitt that one time.
Yep.
I mean, that's really it. And so that's just a hard job. Hopefully he's landed at a place that where he can, get back to NCAA tournaments consistently.
That's a show.
Let's get out of here then. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Terry Teagle, he's a legend. Hook, Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching and listening to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. There's more of us than there are of them. That should be reflected in the comments. So do that, and we will talk to you again real soon. Hey, Thursday, CBS
Sports Network. Big picture preview. Yes.
Is it 1 p.m. Eastern?
I believe it is 1 p.m. Eastern. Yes. I believe it. But don't quote me, but I think so. You told me it was noon. You told me it was 2. I'd believe you either way, but I know it's Thursday around lunchtime.
If there's one thing I know about a television show, it's that I don't really need to know what time it starts until the morning of. All right.
Nada says it's 1 p.m. Eastern. So there we go. 1 p.m. Eastern, CBS Sports Network, big picture season preview show. And then on Sunday night, this is a big heads up, but Sunday night shows are back. We will do our annual prediction shows. I'll remind GP of what we got right, what we did not get right from a year ago. That's always one of my favorite shows to do. So we got some more goodies coming for you.
I think I got everything right last season.
Well, we're about to find out because I
was wrong.
Yeah, well, I think that's coming.
I feel like I got everything right last season, but I look forward to if you want to counterpoint me, I look forward to that on Sunday night. So enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you again on Thursday, 1:00 Eastern. Till then, take care.